Welcome, everybody. It's great to have you here. Today, I'm interviewing someone who I am so excited to meet. I've been following his company for a few months now, and I think that my readers, as well as his potential clients, are going to learn a lot out of today's interview. I'd like to introduce Kyle Lewis, who is the founder and co-CEO of oXYGen Financial, based here in Atlanta. And what they do is they're a full-service family offering financial services for X and Y generation. So they're going exactly after X and Y, and they help their clients breathe easier about life. Kyle, welcome, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. I was excited to do this today. Thanks, Sam.
Great. So I have a lot of questions for you, Kyle. I don't know if we're going to get to them all today. I've broken them up into buckets just so you know. Some are about just your company and your philosophy. Some of them are about financial issues. Some of them are at a much bigger macro issue of what you see is going on. And then also I really want to know about marketing and how you're going after Gen X and Gen Y. So we'll just see what we get to, and hopefully we're going to cover a lot of ground. So first of all, tell me how you and Ted, your co-CEO, decided to go after this market.
Well, I don't know if you've ever read any of the blue ocean, red ocean strategy. There's certainly we're in an industry that is chasing our parents, and so we oftentimes say we're not our parents' company. And so I think there's a ton of folks going after the baby boomers because they have all the money, so to speak. And so we said, hey, let's take a different tack. I'm 43. I'll be 44 soon. Ted's the same age. And when we started looking around, there was absolutely no one built to serve us. I feel like we have significant, I know we'll get into it, I'm sure, in this interview, but I believe we have different needs, different objectives, and we don't think or act like our parents. And so we thought it was time that someone catered to that.
I think you've hit a very important market. Based on the work that I do with wirehouses, there is a huge gap here, and it's exciting to see that you guys are filling it. So tell me a little bit about what have you learned in the last 5 years working with Gen X and Gen Y?
What have I learned? Wow. We did a bunch of, first, and more so the Gen X, I think, and the Gen X and Gen Y actually are significantly different. Gen X, we're a little more cynical, and I think of all the current generations out there, I guess we're the biggest cynics. And so I do think even between the X and the Y, we do face different challenges, but they want to receive information differently today. They're less about being talked to and more about a collaborative approach, I would say would be the first thing. They are, we seek out information. Certainly there's no shortage of that on the internet. I tell folks often that we live in the information age. Unfortunately, it's not the knowledge age, which actually I think is part of our problem. We're almost inundated with too much information and too many choices, and not a clear path of how to sort through that. We lack time. We don't work 40-hour work weeks anymore, and so as important as doing financial planning or planning for our kids or planning for our own retirement or trying to figure out all the new health laws or tax laws or whatever laws, there are not enough hours in the day to get it all done. And so if you're inundated with information, you don't trust anybody, kind of where do you turn to make it all happen?
So where do you turn?
Well, hopefully you go to oXYGen Financial. So, I think that, when we built the family office, we built it with the idea that, we are on a financial planning chassis. And so I came from a corporate environment that focused on doing financial planning, and I still believe in that to my core. But around that, there's certainly other needs that you need to address, whether that be tax, whether that be legal, whether that be simple stuff like trying to figure out, do I buy or lease a car? And so we built a role we call the private CFO, and how we choose to work with our clients today is and congratulations, you're the CEO of your family finances. We come in and partner with you as your private CFO. And so whether I'm the CFO of Home Depot or the Lewis family household, there are really three primary objectives I work with the clients. So I'm a controller. That's all the fun balance sheet, cash flow statements, all the pro formas, yuck, all that stuff we learned in our corporate life that now we get to apply to clients. It's a treasurer role, which is really a risk management role. Everything from all the traditional insurances to debt management to a little different money management philosophy and tax management philosophy to finally the strategist role, which really is the financial planning approach. And people love it. You know, they want that. I hate calling it one-stop shopping because that's just a horrible phrase, but they do want to go one place that's cohesive and able to address everything they have going on.
If that's what Gen X is looking for, they're time crunched, they're cynical, they need help, but they don't necessarily trust where they're going to get the help. What about Gen Y? What is Gen Y looking for in financial planning?
Well, more so, I think they are looking for just kind of sorting through the quagmire of information that's out there. They both X and Y are going to do a ton of research on the internet. Whether it's, you know, going to Google, actually Y go to YouTube more so than they'll go to Google to learn how stuff works. And so they are looking for input more so than, hey, how does this work? That would probably be the biggest issue. And how you're going to reach them is going to be completely different. And so the traditional advertising that you'll see on TV, shoot, half of them don't watch TV anymore. They watch a YouTube video or Hulu. You know, so that's significantly different. You're going to find them a lot differently. And so you're going to have to go to YouTube. You're going to have to go to social media. You're going to have to go to whether, you know, not even Facebook or Twitter or wherever, because they're not going to be in the traditional locations. They don't listen to terrestrial radio as much, so maybe they're on Pandora or whatever, you know, I Love Radio on their smartphone device, which is interesting. You know, most of them, I think we're not too far off from having laptops go away and moving more to tablets. And so that in and of itself, whether it's text marketing, which is something we do quite a bit of, is going to be something that you'll need to reach this audience. And then certainly how you interact and work with them is different. You know, when you come into our website, when you come into our office, it's I'm not wearing a tie today. I haven't worn a tie in, well, okay, I had a derby party this past weekend and wore a tie for the Kentucky Derby party. But short of that, I think I've worn maybe 4 or 5 ties in the last 5 years. And that, people don't care how you look. They don't know that they want the uptight office space. We have everything we do is more open, it's more inviting, and I think people want that. I know they want that, actually.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of your office, you recently were in wealthmanagement.com. I was reading about your office design and how you designed it to really reflect the organizational values and the culture of your organization. Could you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. We've used a lot of refurbished woods and bamboo in the office. We have a Xbox, we have a Wii game in our current office, but we're designing, and we actually have under construction right now going on down in Buckhead. And I don't know whether it'll be I almost think it's kind of Starbucksy kind of feel, and so it'll be a place where clients can come and meet us, but it also will be a place where they can come in and have a sense of community. You know, I think there's so many people working at home today that they lose that office environment or they lose that sense of community, and so we wanted to build an environment where if they needed to conduct a meeting with their clients, they could do that. And it's got all the technology of pushing your tablet onto a TV screen or to an air printer or whatever you need to get done. And oh yeah, by the way, you can
It sounds like
probably sit down and breathe easier about what you've got going on in your financial life as well.
Talking about how you design and how you plan to target these generations, tell me about how do the different generations, X and Y, buy products and services? What is different about how they actually look at marketing and what marketing they respond to?
Well, how they buy, it's interesting if you look. I grew up in a world where we did annual financial planning, and so you charge someone $700 or $800 or $1,000 for a financial plan, and then you would go back each year and you would try to charge them for that. And I'll tell you, I don't think that works well in our demographic. What we chose to move to was more of a monthly model. We charge monthly for a dashboard that will allow folks to aggregate everything they have going on in their financial life, so they can see all of which by the way people want. And so they want to be able to go to their smartphone, they want to pull up their smartphone and go, geez, what am I worth today? Bam, I'm worth X. What do I have in my checking account? What do I have in my 401k? Did I do well in my brokerage account today? And having the ability to go to a single sign-on aggregated site, I believe, is going to be important and necessary for any financial services company that wants to be successful moving forward. We just decided to charge monthly for all those services, and then aggregate their financial plan along with that. We do a terrestrial radio show here in Atlanta, and it's more of a Howard Stern type show. It's on an FM station. It's a 6 to 10 every morning variety show that we do a segment on that we've now been doing for 3.5 years, and we're embedded in the show. And so, between Ted mans our blog, which if you haven't had a chance to go check out Your Smart Money Moves, our blog has been phenomenal in drawing a lot of attention. And we're now moving in heavy into text marketing, which I alluded to a moment ago. I don't know about you, I may or may not. When I get a ding for my email, I may or may not stop what I'm doing and check it. But when my phone goes zzz, 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 and I've got a text message, I'm going to look almost every time. I know it's rude, but it's almost we're conditioned to do it.
Absolutely. I have to say I'm the same way. I will always look at text before I look at email, and I've told people don't bother leaving me a voicemail because I never even listen to my voicemails. So
right. Exactly. Well, it's just easier. Once again, it allows us to multitask because we're used to doing a bunch of different things at the same time.
I noticed that you do a lot of blogging, a lot of social media. You wrote a piece recently that was talking about the importance of blogging and creative headlines. How is that different if you're trying to target a client versus just normal blogging and headlines?
Because I think it's more likely that someone in their 20s, 30s, or 40s are going to pick up and read a blog that says how a threesome is going to help you in retirement, more so than, hey, you're not going to have Social Security. Are you willing? How are you going to build a pension in retirement? Nobody's going to read that. Like, who cares? Someone's definitely going to go, hey, how's a threesome going to help you in retirement? Or how will the Hunger Games help reduce your tax liability? There's I think people are, once again, we don't read in this country anymore, and so we read in 140-bit increments. And so if you don't catch and snag them quickly, you're going to lose. I think that...
so tell me some of your favorite... Go ahead.
Well, no, I think we're a little bit behind the times right now, even with our website. And if you look at our, if you go to oxygenfinancial.net and look at our website, it's your atypical financial services firm website. But I think we're behind. I think we've got too many words on there, and so we need to, and we know that. So we're in the process of saying, how do we make this more video driven, more point and click, just to get people down. And when you do go to the website, one of the things we have done, I think that was pretty smart, whenever you are looking to talk to the X and Y, or anybody for that matter, is we give them white papers and a ton of them and access to it. Because if you don't have a reason for them to stay on there or capture them, why are they going to be there? Not because you have a cool picture of you and your firm on the front page looking dapper. It's just not going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and your videos are great. I have to say, I was watching your videos over the weekend, and they're just 60-second short videos that answer very basic questions, but I probably stayed on for 6 minutes because I was watching all your videos.
Oh, that's awesome. we're cutting videos we're cutting videos I guess tomorrow and Monday of all our guys and doing little 60-second, if you were a superhero, what would you be? If what's the craziest thing you have in your car right now, which I'm scared to hear the answer for some of our guys. I'm like, I don't know that I want to know that, so but it just allows people to get to know you a little better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what have been some of your favorite blogging titles?
The how a threesome will help you in retirement is bar none my favorite. What's the You know what? I'd have to probably cheat and go look. That's probably the one I use the most. There's one I believe that how the Hunger Games will help you save money in taxes. That's more of a
Mm-hmm.
Georgia. That's more specific to Georgia and some of the Georgia movie credits that are available to Georgia residents. But still things along those lines, I guess, would probably be my favorite.
Speaking of writing, I don't know if you got a chance to see, but Thomas Friedman recently wrote, about 10 days ago now, an article in the New York Times about how we're becoming a 401k world, which I thought was an interesting headline, back to what we were talking about, and how basically we're just becoming hyper-connected society and what that means, and how we, because of that, as you say, there's information, not necessarily knowledge, that the younger generations really have to take control of their finances and really be empowered to do whatever they need to do rather than handing it off to whomever it is their financial advisor is. How do you, oXYGen Financial, help Gen Y and Gen X really empower themselves to take control of their finances?
Well, I tell folks all the time that, including myself, no one's going to care about your money more than you. And so I don't care what anybody tells you. It's impossible that someone's going to care about your money more than you. And so my job is more to act as a resource broker to help people understand the playing field, understand what's out there so they can make better, more informed decisions for themselves, not necessarily make the decisions. And so I love the fact that we're an independent firm, which I feel is incredibly important in today's environment, especially to the X and Y generation. And so they want that transparency to know that you're not pushing ABC product because you work for ABC company. And so we're product agnostic. And so whenever I make a recommendation, I'm making it based upon the fact that I think that's what's in their best interest. And for the most part, it's an education component. Once again, I can't, thank God I'm in this industry, because I can't imagine going and sitting and talking to some stuffy individual that would talk down to me. That would not go so well for me. And so having someone that will collaborate with me, that understands maybe some of the challenges that I face as a new parent, or I face as, a guy that came out of corporate America that wants to start his own company, is tired of the rat race, understands the drug of being in corporate America and making a very good income, and thus my expenses kind of growing with those. I think people appreciate that. They want that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Speaking of expenses, Gen Y has been called the collaborative consumers, and what that means is that they're more of the rental generation. They access information, they access and share vehicles, wedding gowns, houses, that type of thing. What have you noticed about this collaborative consumption and how it's impacting Gen Y and their finances?
Well, that's funny. They are, I guess you see a lot of the tech guys that walk around wearing hoodies, and, their dress up is the new hoodie, and so they're worth $100 million and they live in an apartment kind of deal. I think that it comes back to what they value. Both the X and Y, different than the baby boomers, value family time. They value free time. They value purpose. My dad, and God love him, is amazing, but a lot of his value his value was driven by how well he did in his job. Same for my mom. And people aren't as, I guess, what's the word I want to use? Certainly how they feel about themselves isn't tied to their job performance.
And so as a result, they learn from others, they share with others. It's not about what they're title is. It's about who they are in their community and how that mirrors their values.
And what can they provide to their community, or what can they provide to their family? You know, I think you're going to see loyal, and I think big corporations are struggling with that today. That's what, you know, in a lot of the material I read, they're like, you know, my employees aren't loyal to me anymore. Like, no, they're not. They're loyal to themselves and they're loyal to their communities more than they are to the, you know, more than they are to the company. Today are tearing down. You don't have cubes anymore. You have the collaborative workspace. The hierarchy of management has changed, and so there are fewer, with the exclusion of our industry, there are fewer vice presidents, and there's more team leaders and things along those lines in organizations.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I just read an article that by 2020 they're expecting 40% of our workforce to be either subcontractors or somehow working from home, and what that means to communities and what that means to office space and that type of thing. So it's exactly what you're talking about. They're going to be working from home, they're subcontracting somehow to some other company, they're not in a corporate environment, so how do organizations like yourselves help them create community and learning and knowledge at the same time?
Yeah, I'm interested in that. You know, I'm interested. I talk to a lot of clients about that because I say, how do you? It would be a challenge for me. So if this was if this was my medium of interaction, I would go nuts. I would get nothing done at home. I would be, you know, I would be at Starbucks or, you know, XYZ coffee shop. I couldn't do it. You know, and so I'm interested to see how that plays out.
I just want to ask one last question for you before we wrap up. Speaking about 401k, so you were recently in Yahoo Finance, and they were talking about 401ks and how Gen Y may be trending toward it, 401k consolidation. Do you see any trends about Gen Y and what they're most concerned about in terms of their future financial health?
Well, it's funny. I think that we can probably go ahead for this group and retire the word retirement. You know, I don't know what we're going to call it, but certainly they don't call it retirement. You know, they are more about taking their 401ks and learning. If they, first and foremost, you know, unfortunately, in the genesis of that article I was talking with a guy about was there are a lot of, because we don't work anywhere for a very long time anymore, we end up with 4 or 5 orphan 401ks. And oftentimes the Y generation don't consolidate those, and when they don't, they're like, oh, it's only $4,000 or it's only $5,000 or $3,000, and a lot of times they'll cash those in, which obviously we all know has poor tax ramifications. Not to mention we lose the earning power of those dollars, and so I don't know. It's interesting. I think you're going to see a lot more people in the Y generation take a hiatus from life and spend 5 years in their 30s or 40s doing whatever it is they want to do, and then re-engaging back into the workforce to continue moving their career forward. I think you're going to see a large move to business ownership and contractors, as much for that's what big corporations want. That's what people are going to do to fight the tax environment we're entering into. I think I think we've got some tough times ahead from a tax environment, so I think you're going to see more people move to an independent contractor status to hopefully save some money in taxes. It's interesting. We just did our CPA was just interviewed on WSB here in Atlanta about Atlanta being the #1 city for single-member LLCs. And so we're starting a trend. I think you're going to see that go rampant across the country.
Why Atlanta?
I don't know. Maybe more tech. No, I don't know. I think it's the young entrepreneur city. You know, there's the entrepreneurial environment here in Atlanta is rampant, and so it's an interesting collaboration of people. That's my guess. That or there are a bunch of tax cheats live in Atlanta. I don't know what you want to say.
We'll find out. Well, Kyle, thank you very, very much for this interview. I've learned a lot from you. For those of you who want to follow Kyle on Twitter, His handle is at oXYGen Financial. If you want to learn more from his website, watch those great videos, go to www.oxygenfinancial.net and make sure you read the blogs at yourmoneymovesmore.com. And if you have any questions, thank you, yoursmartmoneymoves.com. And if you have any questions, just contact him directly. He was great, everybody. This was his first Google Hangout on air. He was totally game for it with a few days' notice, and I'm sure he'd love to hear from you and any questions you may have about how to manage your money. Kyle, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Anne. You have a great day.